Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this part of the lecture. This is again International Environmental Law. We will be highlighting after looking at the histories how international environmental law has been developed around the world, particularly in the modern span of periods. I think at this point of time it's important to articulate different concepts and their analysis. So it's a very simple way to look at what exactly the concept of environment means. As we all know that the term of something and the concept of something sometimes differ. So in the books and in the journal articles, the one thing has been reflected when we talk about environment as a concept is it is difficult to define and determine what environment is, because with the expansion and innovation of scientific and technological tools and devices, and thereby discovering every new aspects and components every now and then, uh, makes the things updated to a certain categories and stages. Now in doing that, actually it's very difficult to structurally define what the environment is today, which will be useful for the meaning of environment tomorrow. So environmental issues are changing every now and then, and that's why it is very difficult to define and determine. This is what I am not saying from my own understanding. It is rather what I have come across as the observation of the scholars and academicians in the pertinent field. Now, dictionary definitions range from something that environs to the whole complex of climate, edaphic and biotic factors that act upon an organism or an ecological community and ultimately determine its form or survival. The aggregate of social or cultural conditions that influence the life of an individual or a community is what the environment is all about. So if you carefully look at this definition, it encompasses so many issues and aspects within the spectrum of environment. Well, in Oxford Dictionary, environment is defined as the surroundings or conditions in which a person, animal, or plant lives or operates. Now, one of the most important document in the context of environmental law is the Stockholm Declaration 1972. Now, in the preamble of the Stockholm Declaration, in paragraph 1, it referred to, in order to mean environment, it referred to man's environment. Actually, that was a time when the gender issue was male dominated, and that's how the wordings of our languages of international treaties conventions are all addressing men. So that was an issue. Now we see using human. So refer to man's environment, adding that both aspects of man's environment, the natural and the man-made, are essential for his well-being and enjoyment of basic human rights. So if I may repeat the Stockholm Declaration, because that is the baseline from where environmental subsequent development, the subsequent development of international environmental law has been from that Stockholm Declaration, highly influenced from the declaration's principles and content. So the declaration says man's environment, adding both aspects of environment, the natural and man-made, are essential for his well-being and enjoyment of basic human rights. So one of the fundamental conceptual indication in Stockholm's preamble is that environment is highly required for the enjoyment of basic human rights. Now that requires a certain range of interpretations that in order to implement human rights, how far do you concentrate on the role of the environment? Now, this is what Stockholm Declaration is trying to identify. Uh, uh, leaving aside the political and social, uh, the political and civil rights. When we talk about economic, social, and cultural rights, for example, right to housing, purely dependent on environment, right to entertainment, it determines upon the environment. Of course, one of the fundamental right in all civil, political, economic, social, cultural is the right to life, and many interpretations from different supreme courts have been emerged that right to life includes right to environment. Therefore, right to culture, protection of the cultural traditions of the communities. Without protecting the environment, this right cannot be continued. Therefore, the Stockholm Declaration's articulation is a brilliant way of envisioning the nexus between human rights and the environment, because if we really would like to uh, conserve and preserve the environment, we are doing it for some other causes and purposes. And among those purposes or causes or rationales, whatever we say, for the purpose of protecting and conserving our environment is our survivals and the survival of our subsequent generations. So in order to do that, one cannot actually and exactly go without settling certain rights upon individuals, and those rights are human rights. Now, human rights cannot be ensured when you have serious disasters, crises, and many other situations which hamper the public life of the society. Now, if that is a situation continued, then the problem arises about how to move ahead. And exactly that is the reason why environment and human rights are interrelated and extremely connected, and in certain situations overlaps they overlaps. Particularly, one can argue that right to environment is a human rights, and as I mentioned, that the interpretations about right to life has been connected, as right to environment is part of the right to life, because unless you have a, a habituated environment, an environment which facilitates in your survival, existence, and continuation, the situations is going to be very difficult otherwise. So that's how the significance of the Stockholm Declarations emphasis on the environment, that it connected with human rights. In order to expand your knowledge and understanding about this horizon, I would request if some of you may go through some more detailed writings. Things are available in Google, and you may find in some other well-published houses about the environment, right to environment, or right to environment as human right, how right to life can be connected with right to environment. It has been quite some time. I think we had been on the Stockholm Declaration. We will have our lectures on the Stockholm Declaration, but please remember, when we talk about contributions of Stockholm Declaration, don't forget to mention this preamble, nexus of right to human rights with environment. Then the World Commission on Environment and Development that relied on an even more succinct approach as per determining the environment. It says very precisely that the environment is where we all live. Uh, So, I mean, it doesn't categorize or specify what are the components the environment does have or is required to, whether it is good or bad. Rather, it focused on environment is our surroundings. The Rio Declaration, which is another milestone development in the history of international environmental law, which I'm sure we will go through, and it is particularly uh, in 1992, after just 20 years of the Stockholm Declaration. So Rio Declaration refers many points about that environmental. I mean, it refers that we are to deal with environmental needs, environmental protection, environmental degradation, and so on. But nowhere it identifies what these includes. So again, the declaration escapes itself from the term entirely in Principle 1, declaring that human beings are entitled to a healthy and productive life in harmony with nature. So although your declaration says nothing about the environment, but if you look at the principle one, I think that's very important principle. It is very precisely highlighting that what we can grasp about environment is an environment is where we live in, and where we have a nexus with the nature. So nature, human being, a healthy and productive life are all connected in the environment. So thank you. I think in the next part we will have more discussions. Just for your clarification, I suggest when I mean, you don't need to memorize these all things, but rather at least remember what the Stockholm and Rio declarations position on the environment. Thank you.